Okay, we're back live with Scott Wentworth and Robert Persichini, who are eager to answer your questions about Fuente Ovejuna. We'll start out with one that's just come in. Scott, you're basically a pretty nice guy, and you've gone a bit of a role with bad guys lately. You're doing Claudius this year. You've done Bosala in Duchess of Malfi, and now you're doing Guzman, who is evil incarnate, or is he?
Well, yeah, I've been playing a lot of bad guys lately. I'm lucky because bad guys are usually very nice parts. But I don't think anyone, I don't think any character in a great play is simply one thing or the other, either all good or all bad. And so I don't think Guzman is completely evil. He certainly does a lot of evil things, and likewise, an actor, following our founder Tony Guthrie's advice, an actor does have to fall in love with his character to a certain degree and not judge him or her. But I think even within the world of the play, Guzman is a more complicated character. He is as much a victim of the world order as anyone else is. He believes in his privilege. He believes in the kind of vertical society that the medieval world was composed of, and this play is contemporary with Shakespeare, but the events that it describes are an earlier history, so it's not unlike Shakespeare talking about the change in his own world from the feuding barons of the history plays to the golden age of Elizabeth, and I think similarly Lope is talking about the movement out of that medieval Spain, where Spain didn't really exist. You asked me this earlier, David, about a little about the history of Spain at the time, and you have to think of like medieval France when you think of Spain. Spain at that time existed not unlike Italy into the 19th century, as provinces that were run by either powerful individuals, kings of Aragon, kings of Castile, or these very powerful kind of monastic fighting monk organizations. Right. Not they were called the Order of Calatrava and the Order of Santiago in Spain, but they were related to the Knights Templar. So you can think of it that way. And it was under Isabel and Ferdinand and the uniting of those two kingdoms that Spain began to be united. So it's also celebrating a movement from an older world order into a newer world order, this play.
Right. Well, it interested me that just reading the play that, Guzman, yes, he forces his attention on some of the women in the village, but there also seemed to be a fair number of them who were quite happy to be seduced by him, right? So,
well, I think early on in the play that's absolutely the case, and it's what makes the play have modern reverberations. What is sexual harassment? What is, when someone that has absolute power over you, engages with you in a flirtatious, a sexual way. How realistic is that? Is that not by definition in modern terms a sexual harassment? And can you have that kind of harassment where the victim isn't even aware that they're engaging in it? And I believe in this play, it's the emergence of Laurencia, the character that Sara Topham plays. She's a unique character. She's a kind of she's the future. She's the Renaissance woman that comes up and says, "Will you just say no, girls? It's easy. I'm not going to." My honor is too important to me. I am an individual. This is a revolutionary thought in a medieval world. And so in a way, it's the confrontation between her will as an individual and his will as part of that divine right of that medieval world that causes the central. That's the central kind of argument of the play that instigates all of these actions.
So Robert, tell me about your character. I shall expect an answer at least as long as Scott's.
Oh, please. Talking too much.
With all the philosophical and historical implications. Mengo is a villager.
Mengo is a villager who, Mengo is a shepherd, and I think he lives outside of the society, although he's very much part of it, but he's separate, and he brings a new there's a great deal of discussion about the nature of love in the play, and Mengo brings his own particular philosophy into that discussion, which is there is no such thing as unselfish love, where it's not possible to give over one's complete person to another.
It's kind of an argument out of Plato, isn't it? I mean, in fact, there's a reference, isn't there, to Plato in the...
Yes, yes. It's brought up in response to his, to his statement that all love is a selfish act, an act of selfishness and self-protection. What's interesting about what happens with the character is that his own philosophy comes back to, in effect, slap him in the face, where he does actually go to battle and he does stand up for the people who are around him. And that's his journey and his arc of...
And he actually feels the commander's wrath firsthand. I mean, very directly, right?
Absolutely. As he is engaged in an act of trying to protect someone else, he runs into the commander who deals with him extremely harshly. And this is something that I don't think he cannot find a reason for. He cannot see through this act of brutality towards himself, and I think more importantly towards the woman that he's trying to protect.
And this is something that intrigues me about this play. I mean, as Sarah, I think, said on the tape there, this is in many ways, is a very cruel world that's being depicted. And yet, at the same time, I mean, this play is essentially a comedy, I guess. There's an incredible spirit on the part of the villagers, and it's full of song. How have you guys...
And the evil is rooted out and order is restored at the end.
Yes.
Right. Right.
So yes, I mean, technically it's a comedy.
Yes.
You know. It works out.
Things work out.
Things work out.
Yeah.
They look pretty bad, and in fact they are pretty bad.
And the villagers go through quite a journey. I mean, it was interesting, we put the play together yesterday, and it was very interesting watching the third act after the commander has been dealt with by the villagers, how they kind of get back to a good life, a normal life, after having indulged in their own acts of brutality. And Lope doesn't really spare the villagers that journey, and that's one of the things I find really interesting about the play.
Right.
Is you don't sort of go, oh well, got rid of the bad guy, let's have a party.
Yeah, it's something that's I'm still going through and thinking through this, but the cost to them of their actions, that they engage in this act of revenge, this incredibly bloody act of revenge, and what that costs them. It's not over as soon as it happens. There is a one scene where there's a meeting in the town square after they've revolted, and it begins to emerge through that scene, I believe, that the individual cost and the cost to their community of having undertaken this act of revenge towards Guzman.